Hello. What follows is an excerpt from Little Dip by Gill McKnight. It is book 5 in the Garoul series, featuring her fabulous werewolves. Connie acclimatized quickly. She soaked in the warmth, unfolding her senses, losing her residual stress, and all at the forest's pace. She took a breather on a fallen log and was rewarded with a series of photos of a shy, dusky shrew going about its business. Above her, 2 squirrels scuttled in a perpetual fight over a sprig of berries. Their antics amused her for half an hour, while she ate her midday granola bar and relaxed in a beam of sunlight. Across the river, the splash of otters going after trout drew her attention to the tumbling waters of the Silver Thread. Running clean and strong after the recent rain, its restful rumble reminded her of her own grimy sweatiness, and she promised herself a dip in its waters before the heat of the afternoon died completely away. Maybe it was because she was focused on the river that she heard the child's faint cry. It sounded far away. Had she imagined it? She listened harder, and the cry came again, almost at once. A cry from help. From the river. Connie sat up straighter. Another cry. Help! Immediately, she was on her feet and scrambling down to the river, her urgency making her slip and slide over the mulched leaves and mossy stones. The tree line gave way to several feet of rocky river bank, and up ahead, cresting a wide bend in the river, she saw a child crouched on a wooden raft, screeching for help. The raft was roughly built of branches and twine. It had a flagpole with a rag of blue flapping overhead, and the kid was on his hands and knees, holding on for dear life as it dipped and bucked in the flow. His skin gleamed wet and brown. He was a little chestnut about to be swept away before her eyes. Connie guessed he'd be past her in about a minute, maybe less. The current was so strong. There was no time to stop and think. She kicked off her boots. Her backpack, camera bag, and jacket were flung from her shoulders in one swift movement, and she dove into the river. She surfaced almost instantly with a shocked gasp, stunned by the chill. The raft bore down on her faster than she expected. It swirled in front of her, and she realized she had made a big mistake. A big, big mistake. This thing was heavy and thundering through the water straight toward her. If it hit her, it could kill her. She made a desperate lunge and grabbed as the slippery log spun by her. Her hands slid along the wet wood and caught on a rough binding of ropes. She dug her fingers in and was jerked sideways, pulled along roughly by the current. For an excruciating moment, it felt as if her arms were being torn from their sockets. Then the stab of pain passed, and she was swirling through the water, trying desperately to keep her head high and her airway clear. On the raft, the child gazed at her in open-mouthed astonishment. Connie could see now it was a girl, not a boy. A girl who gawped at her, wide-eyed. Connie spat water from her mouth. "Don't worry, I'll help you." Her words came out as a choked gasp, not very reassuring for either her or the child. She sounded far from capable of rescuing anyone, especially herself. This was a stupid mistake, an ill-conceived, muddled mess. She had no idea how to get aboard the raft, never mind stop it. Now they were both in trouble. Then the kid did something unexpected. She opened her mouth and yelled, "Aunt Marie, there's a strange lady trying to steal my raft!" Connie became aware of several things simultaneously. There was more splashing coming from behind her, a lot more splashing, and childish whooping from some more craft coming around the river bend. Perhaps this kid wasn't in danger after all. She also noticed her right hand was throbbing like a bitch and covered in blood. She had managed to rip her palm on an exposed nailhead, and now her blood smeared the side of the raft and swirled dramatically in the water around her. The girl stared at her with huge, dark eyes, her gaze darting from the bloody hand gripping the ropes of her raft to Connie's confused face. What the hell? Connie could see from her peripheral vision 2 Indian-style canoes bearing down on her. One was bright yellow, and the other maroon. They were weighted down with what looked like a ton of other kids, all wailing and whooping and warlike, and totally oblivious to her being dragged along beside the raft. "Hey! Hey! There's a lady! Hey!" The kid on the raft waved frantically at her playmates. No one seemed to notice. Or else they were unable to maneuver away. "Aunt Marie!" she called toward the riverbank for help. There came a mighty splash from the bank, and another figure joined the melee in the river. This time, an adult. Connie could just make out a dark smudge streaking toward her under the tumbling crystal waters. Then the yellow canoe collided with her shoulder and slammed her hard against the side of the raft. She gave a grunt of pain and let go. The pain in her hand, and now the shoulder slam, made it impossible for her to hang on any longer. She dipped under the water, disoriented and numbed by pain. The kid on the raft was probably all right. At least, she hoped so. Connie was now the one in danger. She surfaced directly in front of the second canoe. Her clothes weighed her down, and it was hard for her to maneuver. Her shoulder was stiff, and she couldn't move her arm to swim away. She was stuck, flapping about before the descending canoe. If it hit her on the head, she'd be a goner. It was right upon her. Connie closed her eyes and braced herself for the impact. It didn't come. With inches to spare before imminent collision, a dark-haired woman surfaced between Connie and the maroon canoe and shoved its prow away with such strength it changed direction completely and skittered off toward the far bank. Connie blinked in confusion. "Leone!" the woman roared. "Get out of here, now!" And then she slapped the side of the yellow canoe, grabbed it, and slowed it down, if not quite stopping it. "Okay, Mom," the girl at the prow said excitedly. "Andre!" the woman bellowed at the boy sitting lead in the maroon canoe. "Follow Leone in!" The kid, still perched on the raft, blinked fearfully, as if she was in some sort of trouble. The woman thumbed wordlessly at the far shore, where the canoes were already heading, and the kid dived off the raft straight into the water and took off like an eel after her friends. The abandoned raft careened on its merry way. Well, shit. Connie had barely formed the thought before she was grabbed by the back of her shirt collar and jerked toward the riverbank after the kids. She opened her mouth to protest, but water filled it, and she spluttered her anger in bursts of burbled nonsense. The grip on her collar propelled her through the water on her back like a torpedo. Soon, her kicking feet scrabbled against the rocks, but still she was dragged, unable to gain a foothold and help herself. She slapped at the hands holding her. "Stop it! Will you, for God's sake, stop!" Higher up on the muddy bank, she was unceremoniously let go of with such suddenness she collapsed onto her ass. "What the... Who the hell are you, and what are you doing here?" The furious question rode roughshod over her. Once again, that was an excerpt from Little Dip by Gill McKnight, Book 5 in the Garoul Series. You can learn more about it online at Dirt Road Books. That's www.dirtroadbooks.com. Thanks for listening.